So I'm going to call the Parks and Recreation Committee to order. Mr. Clement and myself are in attendance. Mr. Booth is I think in Kansas City again in training. So, all right, so let's get started. So first item on our agenda. So Mr. Flowers had contacted me regarding a citizen that had an American flag and a POW flag that they wished to donate and wanted to have fly at Holly Field. And I told Mr. Flowers, yeah, that's a great idea. I wanted to talk about it in Parks and Rec, but evidently it's already flying. So, but I wanted to, reason why I wanted to bring it to the committee was to discuss a resolution accepting the donation and acknowledging the citizen that donated it, because I think that's always a gracious thing when someone's willing to do something like that, and just give them recognition. And I also wanted to make sure that we had, before it was hung, that we actually had a light, flag etiquette you are supposed to have. If you're going to leave an American flag flying, it needs to be lit. So I think that's only proper. And it appears that we do have a light, which is hopefully we're going to find out here shortly that it is working. But I believe the name of the gentleman was Jerry Crane. I do not know that gentleman, but perhaps I can get more information from Mr. Flowers, and I would just like to do a resolution accepting the donation and just acknowledging him for donating.
I agree. I think that's a great idea.
So, okay, so we will continue on to the next item. And then maybe I can have Mr. Flowers reach out to Mr. Crane and see if he wants to attend the meeting so we can thank him and present him with a resolution. The next part, we have an update on the dog park. A couple of the board members were not able to attend this evening. Good luck to Mr. Cox tonight. I think he said he was going to Zane Trace for a basketball scrimmage. Mr. Pfeiffer had sent a report on to me, though, that I'll read through just to give us an update on where we're at. As far as grants and fundraising, State of Ohio, one-time strategic community investments, awarded $139,731. Unsure if the funds have been received. I think we're still waiting. There's an email with Mr. Sappington, so I think we're still waiting to see if we've actually received these funds yet. The Nelsonville Community Foundation grant, they were awarded $2,500, received an extension on submitting the progress report, and they'll have to request a second extension, it sounds like. ODNR NatureWorks grant, they were awarded $21,349 for a shelter house. Unsure of the fund status, he says, at this moment. So some of these meetings may have to ask Mr. Sappington, or I might ask to bring to the next meeting just so we can have an update on, make sure we have those funds. We might be able to get an update from Mr. Betts also on when we anticipate bidding out the work. The 2024 dog swim at the Aquatic Center. He states that there was good attendance from dogs around the area. Thank you to all the students from Hocking College's Animal Assisted Therapy Program for all their help. And the event raised $165. I personally have attended that a couple of times. It always seems fun. The dogs, most of the time I haven't been there with an incident between dogs, so it's actually pretty well-behaved dogs that I've seen that have been there. No, I really enjoy that event. It's a good event. I will not take my dog because she does not play well with others. So, and then they're looking into a Dine to Donate fundraising opportunity with Texas Roadhouse in 2025. All right. And in terms of the dog park design, DLZ Professional Services agreement for the Nelsonville Dog Park. unsure of status, see attached, and then proposed park layout, see attached. So he's attached in this email. I haven't really seen that yet myself, so. And then dog park rules, a draft version of rules has been developed with general rules, but cannot be completed until a final park design is determined. So definitely need to, let's see if I can, oh, there are more attachments. How about that? Overlay, dog park, wish there was a way I could throw that up on the screen, but I'm not tech savvy enough on that. Oh, I can't even open it. Never mind. Not allowing me to open it. So, maybe we can have a couple copies of that for our next regular meeting that people can look at, and maybe even get it on the site of what we're looking at. That would be a good idea. So there's a brief update of what we have. So it sounds like we're still in the early stages of that process, and planning. And, so hopefully we'll look forward to more updates here in the near future. I'm not sure when they're meeting next. So, oh, yes.
They're meeting on Thursday night, 2 nights from tonight.
There is a meeting on Thursday
Well,
night?
there still is, there may
Okay.
not be, they canceled the last two, and from what you've said, I don't think they have anything to talk about.
Oh, okay.
yet. But I have one other question.
Yep.
Does Mr. Betts have that exact amount for the shelter house? So that when he designs it within the frame of the, 21,000 or somewhere around there dollars?
Did they match that with the NatureWorks money? Is that what that is, the 21,000 you were referring to?
No, it was, somebody said the 21,000, you just said 21,000.
That was a NatureWorks grant that they received.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mr. Betts is aware of that when he's designing.
Oh, I would imagine so, yeah. Yeah, for whatever reason, the other attachments are, it's not allowing me to open those. The PDFs, I should be able to open that.
And from what you've said, there's probably no reason for a dog park meeting on Thursday.
Do you know what time they normally meet?
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. Here?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so hopefully they'll have a meeting, and if they do, then maybe we can get some more information on that. Let's see. We do have a person interested in joining the rec board along with Mr. Cox. His name is Reid, Courtney. He's planning on attending the next formal meetings to be sworn in. Welcome aboard, Mr. Courtney. I'm excited for that. I talked a little bit in email with Mr. Tudor from Hocking College. They're going to be sending the city a proposal on how we can collaborate a little bit more in terms of grant writing. They've got someone that works for Hocking that's pretty pretty good at grant writing, I guess. So I'm looking forward to getting that started so we can hopefully get some assistance on a couple other grants that we're looking at and some other projects that we have lined up for our parks. So I'm pretty excited about that. And he didn't say anything in the email about the use of our fields, but there was a point where Hocking College was still considering the use of some of our fields for their sports that they're going to be starting, I believe, next year. I don't know if I think it's next fall is when they're considering some new sports over there. And they may need some use of poly field and maybe some of our ball diamonds. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I would like to address that sooner than later.
Yeah, because we're going to need to get some sort of memorandum of understanding together. Mr. Cox did reach out to the superintendent at Nelsonville. It doesn't appear that they will need use of Crabtree in spring for baseball. So their project must be going to be completed by that time. So it looks like their new field will be all set. And then it appears the last thing that we need to talk about, I forgot to put on the agenda, which is my fault, is the pool and some repairs. I asked Mr. Frank to be here today. He and I have talked a little bit about it, but he may have some solutions for some of the repairs, as well as we've talked about how we may have to miss a season with the pool just based on the extent of, you know, the repairs that may need to be done, so, but,
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that, but I think we need to.
I agree.
We need to be prepared.
We've
that-
still got a pretty good water leak down there. I mean, we've done some stuff and we got it down about 3,000 gallons a day. So we're still 12,000, 13,000 gallons a day. What we're using down.
Yeah, and depending on what the issue may be, it needs to be addressed. So hopefully we can find that out soon.
so, yes, ma'am.
I have a question in regard to Poly Field and Crabtree Field. Do you have any idea what kind of dates might be available for Hocking College to use? Because they are having a grant meeting tomorrow night where they probably will discuss that, but they kind of, if you have any kind of information like that and get it over to Jared, it would be really helpful.
In terms of when the fields would be available,
Right.
so,
I mean, like they could use them every Monday or not, or they could have them every other Saturday, or they're gonna be, you know, really busy during the summer and they can't use them then.
Crabtree is pretty much open.
Yeah.
There's only one game played at Crabtree and that's the old time.
Okay,
That's all that's
okay,
played
that's
down
at the end of the
there.
summer.
Now with the ball field on the football field down at Poly, that would be something that the youth league and the college would work out, because that field, all the fence is removable. So they could remove it when the
Right.
field needs use.
So they should, those are the two that
Those
should
are
get
the two that
together.
would be-
Okay, thank you.
I would agree with that, and that way they can, most of the, and most of the practices for any of the youth is gonna be in the evenings. And when we had conversation with Hocking in the past, when they were considering the use of our fields, then they were like, that wouldn't be a problem because most of their practices would take place in the mornings or during the day, so,
Even
and-
mornings would probably be better.
yeah.
I
So,
mean, if it was something where it was gonna be back and forth every day, they could work together, like the youth league could take the fence down and maybe Hocking College would put it back up when their practice is over, so it's ready for the youth league and vice versa. If the youth league
And
takes
that's
it
on
down,
Poly
then it
Field.
will be ready for
Okay,
the college. They just work together and
and I think
ready for
that's,
each other.
I think that's something that's doable. I mean, that's just logistics in terms of working that out, so. And then and I don't know in terms of their sports, it would just depend on, when their games would be, when Hocking's games would be, because I
well,
think,
it depends on when you're using it too.
yeah, and I think that's gonna be the biggest thing if they're on weekends, you know, but I think some of the college games would be during the week as well.
They are indeed.
Yeah,
So I
so,
don't know at this point, anybody would know the schedule, because who knows if the youth league is gonna expand their tournament dates, all that. So there's, at this point, I don't see.
Hocking would have their schedule.
yeah,
because
Hocking would
they-
have to have it out.
They already have it out, yeah.
Yeah, but as far as the youth league,
The youth league though, if Hocking has theirs out, they could probably work around that, I think. I
Yeah.
think that would be easy
Right.
to do, so.
So I could say if Hocking has their college, it'd be a good idea to get it to the youth leagues so that they can have an idea of what's going on.
And the youth league is
With
already,
understanding hockey doesn't get preference.
right, I think, I mean, I think that, I think we want to make sure that our youth league can, you know, utilize the fields, but they, I think they have a meeting, they're already in discussions on their season, I think, and I think there's a meeting this Thursday for the youth league as well, so, I think that that's something that could be easily coordinated, worked out, I think, but we'll see. I don't see it being a major problem, just working out the details, so,
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
Next question about that subject as well.
Yep.
Have you guys given any more consideration to my father's property that we are wishing to hand over?
Yes, so we actually, thanks for bringing that up, I forgot about it, but we actually have talked about it, and the city, I think, you know, at least a couple council members that I've talked to about it, which is majority of council, I think we would like to take you guys up on that, and it's just, a matter of, you know, probably, well, we'll have to, Greg, do you feel confident we could bring resolution to that at the next meeting?
we'll have to see what Jonathan says.
because Mr. Frank's already got all the plots, the parcels marked out. And then we could accept that, and then it would be up to us then to, you know, to put up the fencing, which we can have Mr. Cohen look at, budgetary wise, and so we can add it to his, may have to appropriate more money to his budget, because I didn't think about that initially when we were talking budget.
Okay, I made a note, I'll speak to John about it.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate
No, I appreciate it. The youth league has done such a great job at bringing life back to Poly that you guys have seen it. It gets packed.
Yeah.
And folks are parking all over our side, which is fine, but there's a huge liability with that. We just give it to you, and it's not our problem.
Right.
And you have more parking space.
I like it.
It's a win-win.
It is, it truly is. So we don't want the liability.
We need all the parking space we can get, because people drive on the track to go around to the backside and park, and that track wasn't designed for vehicles, it was designed to walk on, it's not thick enough.
Yeah.
Let's go get tore up, and then in turn, the city isn't a part of the youth league, but we're the ones gonna take the blame for it and have to fix it and everything else.
I agree.
Because you'll be able to knock down about 100 feet of those trees, and that'll open up that whole square, so open up wide open.
Down there, we need to look into getting, which when Scott was here, we had talked about it, the concrete barricades like the dividers use on the
Yep.
highway.
Yep.
Because if you drive down there, somebody keeps driving out on the field with donuts. We had a cable up to keep them from going around the gate. They tore it out of the telephone pole that it was, we drove through the telephone pole and anchored it. And they tore it out of the telephone pole so they could drive around on the backfields. The only way we're gonna stop them is put up those concrete barricades where they can't get through. I mean, I know that we paved a new walkway this year to connect the parking lot to get over, make it easier for elderly and handicap and stuff. And, we could set them to where you can still get a wheelchair and stuff through it, but not a car. I know it's not gonna stop some of the four-wheelers and motorcycles, but there's been, I couldn't tell you if it's a truck or a car, but if you get under and look at the field, they've been pulling donuts all over that football field.
I'm aware.
It's awful.
An alternative to that, because the concrete blocks and barricades didn't sound very attractive last time, you can purchase the sandstones that were used for foundations or relatively
All those
inexpensive.
big, nice ones.
Absolutely, and it would look a
Yeah.
lot nicer.
Look
down there.
nice, yeah.
Cut stone. Yep.
Well, if we went with concrete, we could always paint it to match the wall that went around also.
It'll flood and turns brown.
It's always gonna flood.
Yeah.
It's always gonna flood. So,
I got one more question.
yes.
The $250,000 grant that Jay Edwards gave our city, I haven't seen it on the budget anywhere. Is it not come in, or what do you know?
I haven't seen it come in either yet.
I haven't either.
I know we've been awarded the funds, but last I knew, we didn't have it.
The last I heard on that was they wasn't sure, nothing had been done yet. We have it. We were granted it. They weren't sure how it worked, if we got all the money or they did draws on it. Like when we get grants for projects, they do draws. Like the contractor will submit to DLZ what they've done up to date. DLZ submits it for a draw off of that grant.
But you gotta see it to draw from it.
Well,
The same thing with the grant for a project. We don't physically see it to draw from.
I mean, it's not even on the,
it wouldn't be on our budget at
It's
this
not
point.
on
It'd be
our-
on
it
the,
would
it would
be
be
on
on the
our
federal or on the state budget at this point. But,
Thank you.
yeah.
So Michael, the last time I heard, they were trying to figure out how, if it was just gonna be sent here, or if it was gonna be draws through,
Similar to some of our bigger
just like we do
grants
big
with
projects and
EPA,
stuff.
FEMA. Gotcha.
thank you,
Okay.
Jason.
Okay, yeah, so that's a good point, because it could be like that, and so we actually have to do some work and then do it, and then request the money That's good.
Okay, it'll all go out for bid. Everything will go out for bid, the fencing, the shelter house, it'll all go out for bid, just like a big project does, it's just smaller scale, but it's still a project. And then the bid will be awarded, and then it'll be just like these, they'll work and they take draws from it, get paid.
Very good. All right. So then the last item, which will probably consume the remaining of our time for this meeting, would be the pool.
Okay, I have enough.
Oh, yes, please.
Something that popped in my head here. The young man that was doing the painting at Poly Field,
Yes.
did he complete that project? Do you know, Jason?
I know he got all the wall painted.
I don't know if the roofs are done yet.
I don't know if the roofs are done yet, but they completed a major part of it.
Okay. Could you, because we're now coming into basically off-season, could you follow up on that, or maybe Devin could? and
Yes,
see what
I'll
this-
reach out tomorrow and find out.
Okay, that way we know.
No, that's great. I'm glad that that's a lot of painting. That's a lot of paintings.
There were 60 gallons of paint.
Wow.
It looks great. Did a good job.
Nice.
There's sections down there where the walls, like saw cut or something like, and it was taking 1 gallon per section.
Wow.
There's 61 sections of wall down there.
It's a lot of paint.
And we painted one just to make sure it was gonna hold.
Yeah.
About a month and a half before he went down to make sure there wasn't gonna be a waste putting it on there.
Well, he had other kids from his troop help too.
Right.
Yeah, he was gonna be the supervisor.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
he's it's Eagles. You know.
It was overseen.
Very good. Oh, great. That's good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about this pool. So we know we have some repairs that need to be made, but Mr. Frank also has an idea for a liner, because the liner is definitely needs to be replaced. So let's go ahead and open up the discussion then, because and Scott, because your experience with the city and the knowledge of the pool too, do you think that if we take that liner out, do you think is there any way we could figure out more about the leak issue that we may have, or?
So the first step, and Jason, I don't know what you've done since we talked last, but there's pool companies that come down and hook into all the intakes and test the lines. What they do is they pressure test all the lines.
Gotcha.
The challenge we had last time we talked about it was the gate valves inside the pump house that whether they would work correctly or not, because they have to be shut in order to pressurize it. But I would imagine that wouldn't be too big a deal, and it's probably a good time of the year to get a company to come down and do that because they're slow. So I'm not sure.
Slow, and if the valve needs replaced, this would be a time to do it tomorrow. Well.
Okay, I agree with that. I mean,
So the other thing too is, so real quick background. So we have the liner in the pool now is called Diamond Bright, and it is a very, very good finish. Back in the day when the pool was built, it might have been top of the line, and it has a 5-year warranty, and its average lifespan, according to Google, is 7 to 12 years. Ours is 20-some years old. It has paid its dues. So every year, or at least in recent years, we've had to go in because delaminations happen and it pops out, and then behind there, is the raw concrete, or in some places, we found cracks behind there, and it's just constantly moving. So the guys patch it, and it mismatches, but doesn't affect the operation. But one of the other things that could be leaking that we don't know of, there could be a delamination you can't see that has the crack underneath of it. And the only way you test for that is you go around, trying to think of something similar, but you tap it with a hammer and you listen for the hollow noise, and then you bust it out.
Have you ever watched them on bridges with chains?
Yep, same thing.
They're listening for the different sounds to make sure the concrete's on the way.
Or you can take a torch to it, and the torch oftentimes will make it pop out, one of those like weed burners. Anyway, with that said, my company, we have, it's called EcoFinish. It's been around for quite some time, and it is not a plaster base lining, such as in there now. It goes on, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's essentially plastic. And the process is you go in and you find all the delaminations, as I just talked about. You remove the delaminated material and you patch it with fresh material, not necessarily existing plaster, but there's several options. And then you prime and apply this. The way this plastic is applied is it's powder, very much like powder coating with high pressure air and a lot of heat with propane, and it actually goes on with about a 3 foot or 3 foot flame in the literature I brought you. It has a 10-year warranty, and quite frankly, they have a lot of stuff that's much older and it still looks new. What makes EcoFinish different, other than it being plastic, is it's UV stable. So one of the things about, especially our pool here, is when we drain the water, it is not UV resistant, and UV breaks down the liner even more. That's why when you
Because
see
it's fully exposed during the.
That's why you see a lot of pools that we want water in.
that, and the older, all the regular pools, they always have tile in the top layer that sticks out of the water. That's for the exact reason, so they don't, that it's not exposed to the UV. The other benefit is it's pH neutral, so that's probably more beneficial on a residential, but ideally it takes less chemicals because the plaster would eat, or somewhat, I'm not gonna say it correctly, so moral of the story is it doesn't use as much chemicals, say in a residential pool. I don't think it would make any difference at the city pool, if I'm being honest. It's also chemical resistant, or an acid resistant. Also, if we're adding chemicals manually, and it would avoid staining. That's not gonna happen. They offer a whole bunch of different colors. They also have, the sand or beach entry that's non-slip, that's compliant with the state. The state has a bunch of, or not a bunch, but they have several rules that certain areas of the pool have to be non-slip, and that's encapsulated in that. You can only have, so the state has a list of colors, and for this company, they've only approved 3 colors, and then the pamphlet I gave you, I put a check mark in the 3. If you want different colors, that's fine. You need to know sooner than later so we can get the state to approve it. It's not hard necessarily to get approved, it just takes a while to get through the system.
Process, yeah.
Yeah. Thing to remember with that is the spirit and intent of the colors is to be bright so you can see into the pool and if somebody's struggling. So you're not going to get a dark color approved. The cool thing is if you want to do something a little bit fancy, you can change up the color, make it look just like sand where you go in and then
I was gonna ask that if you could have different colors.
Yes, you can do different colors. You can do a logo if you want.
Oh, wow.
You can, the sky's the limit. And for one of their demos, so folks at home can't see, but it's a massive torch. It's one of those tow behind air compressors that is the air that pushes in a big propane tank. But if you apply it correctly, you can actually apply it directly to cardboard. It doesn't catch fire, and it creates that the film on there, and you can't break it, tear it, or anything.
Oh, wow.
So it's extremely durable. And minus the lamination happening behind, then you're never going to have a problem with it. You shouldn't have a problem with lamination either if it's sealed correctly, unless you missed it during install, which is possible, but not likely. Also, with the pool, would be resealing the joints, because I know from what I remember last time, that was a problem. What is it, about an inch expansion joint goes down the middle and crisscrosses through it?
Yeah.
So that would be replaced, because that could be leaking as well. You wouldn't be able to see it if it's old, if it's going down the side. Although when they come and did the dye test, they said it was fine. The second time, first time we had to change it. Well, what I want to do is just get it on your radar. It was something we talked about before. They're pricey. I do have a cheaper version that's not applied like that. It's more of it's a hybrid between a paint and a plaster. It's the exact same prep either way. It doesn't matter. The preparation for either way you go is exactly the same.
So real quick for clarification on the prep and for it. So is it completely removing the coating that we have now, or just like breaking out the bad spots and then resealing over top of everything in that process? So how does the prep actually work? Is it completely removal of what we have, or no? Okay.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to do that. If it's already got good adherence now, it's likely to be better than, us trying to float something on top of it. So,
Okay. So it's kind of like if you go I'm working on a house right now, I'm fixing all the drywall, so I'm just fixing the bad spots, skim coating the bad spots, and so I can make it paint ready then, and that's kind of,
Yes, I just don't
in
want
its
to.
simplest terms, you know.
It is, and it's a very, I mean, the longest part of the entire process is chipping out the bad stuff, because you're gonna have probably 5 to 6 folks with a hammer for several days down there tapping every inch of that pool liner, looking for delaminations. After we take the torch to it, that's the fast, easy way to identify the big stuff quick. There's lots of tech specs in there. I don't want to bore everybody with it. I'll leave that with you. I provided some metal chips for you guys to feel. The metal chips are a little bit rougher than what it really will be because it's brand new, but once it gets water on it, it still has that anti-slip and it's not quite as abrasive. Another thing too, I also installed either clear or not clear, but solid epoxy or epoxy chipped floor. We can put non-stick in that. That would be compliant if you're interested in doing your locker rooms. From what I remember, I believe are they painted floors?
Painted concrete.
Where?
The bathrooms, the locker rooms. Just concrete.
The only place that there's paint is like for the lines.
Okay. If you wanted to do something like that, you could put that in there. It would dress it up. You can put Nelsonville-York colors in there if you want, but they have that standard off the shelf, the orange and the white. And just a lot of options to consider. And the biggest gain in there would be the non-slip, because I know it's slippery in there when it's wet, but I don't know if we've had too much of a problem with complaining. So, but I wanted to offer it up. I'm new in town as far as doing business and relatively new representing Eco Finish, a fantastic product. They're out of Warminster, Pennsylvania, so right outside of Philadelphia. Should this be something you decide you want to go forward with in the future, they send a rep out for installation to make sure it's quality checked. That way their name's on it and they don't want their name to be tarnished. The paint, 5-year warranty on the paint. I can't tell you exactly what the difference is because I don't know, because I haven't actually gone, I haven't measured the pool. I've just done some Google space estimates. The paint will be cheaper, but you're still gonna have all the labor of crap. That doesn't change.
Gotcha. Is it possible that you could get a quote to the city in terms of what it would take for that overall project?
Yeah.
Okay.
So something else to consider as well as the slide. So the state of Ohio does not require a licensed individual to refurbish that slide if you want it. However, I would ask your insurance what they want. The slide is a touchy subject. It can go wrong so fast. And as long as you leave it the same, whatever the, I have a couple slide people specific to that, but I would definitely confer with your insurance and see exactly what they want first, make sure if they want somebody certified or not. I'm certified to do the Eco Finish. I'm not certified to work on the slide. Can I put Eco Finish on the slide? I can, but I don't feel comfortable doing it for, a public place like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So the other thing too is if you were to change your slide for whatever reason, just know that you have to file plans to the state because it's a modification. So just to clarify, a new liner is not a modification, but if you want to change out your slide or say you want to take out that pony wall in the middle for whatever reason, those all count as modifications and they have to be approved by the state before you can move forward.
So if you can get a quote, Mr. Tolliver or Mr. Cohen, it would be great. That would be terrific. So we can start looking at that. And then Mr. Clement, if we might be able to, maybe have, get Mr. Tolliver to, get Mr. Cohen to get somebody here to do pressure testing, so we can talk about that leak, because we might as well, if we're going to be looking at doing work to the pool, we still need to probably look at that while we're doing it. And then in terms of we'll get a quote from Mr. Frank and then start looking at that process and see about, now in terms of when that work would be, let's just say we go through the process, the quote is within our our ability to do, and what's kind of time frame on a project like that?
So I would.
And would we be able to do it before next season if?
Currently, I'm not booked that far out, yes.
Okay.
If I had a full, very, very experienced, it would take a week, but I'm gonna take 2 weeks, and the company's gonna come here and make sure it's done correctly. If that works out. If not, then whatever one it turns out to be. So, with that said, 2 weeks is what I planned. If you end up not going with me, not a problem. Just be aware that the other pool folks in town, they book up fast. I know when he and I did it last time, we got a quote in, was it October? And he was still booked. He was booked all the way up to March the following year. So if you're gonna get it, yeah, I would get it, at least plan for it whenever the year before, because actually getting it done the same year, you know, say March, you're like, oh, I got the money. It's not gonna happen before you get in, probably with anybody for that matter.
And is springtime better time to do the work, or?
With Eco Finish, it doesn't matter because
Okay.
it goes on heat applied, so it's not restricted by temperature.
I was wondering that,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
Yeah.
Like, is it, because winter project would be ideal because it's not in season, don't have to worry about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that one's not weather restricted. The other one, the roll-on, that's between the plaster and the paint, it is in 40 degrees.
Yeah.
So it's more limited than the Eco Finish, but both are plausible. And I can quote it out both ways if you want. Pool paint, plaster, it'll last you 5 years for certain, but then you gotta do it again. So, but I can quote it both ways for you.
But the Eco Finish is probably you said a 10-year lifespan?
Yes, and to my knowledge, that's the only product on the market that offers a 10-year warranty.
Okay. Perfect. I like that.
So I think we need to look at the whole pool facility.
Mhm.
Everything that needs done there. My understanding is the roof needs replaced on the one building.
There's lockers down there that are in the wall that don't get used, that happen, don't close.
Yeah, so I think we need to look at the whole facility and then prioritize, can we do it all at once or string it out a little bit? Because we're talking a lot of money here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the pressure testing and the pool finish is probably the priority.
Yeah.
And then, but, you know, because depending on the pressure testing and finding out whatever we find out about that, I mean, we've already had that discussion in the last meeting about, you know, do we throw good money after bad? Is it, at this point, do we just start planning for a new pool, you know, altogether?
Just a quick data point, I don't know if you guys know this, the quote we got a couple years ago, was it 140 or 150, Jason? Do you know?
I think it was closer to 150.
So that was the quote we got back then, and that was to replace the Diamond Bright with Diamond Bright.
Yeah.
So just give you a ballpark.
Yeah. That's why I'd like to see, to totally renovate that whole facility, what is the number? Probably scare us.
That would be scary.
Yeah, but I don't wanna put all, like you said, put all this money into it, and then 3 years later, something else comes up, and we'll,
Yeah, I mean, if we're putting 150,000 in now, and then 3 years later, we're putting another 150,000, we could be putting in $1 million pool right now, like in, you know, maybe a third of it. Okay. Very good. Mr. Frank, I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing the quote on that, and then if we can get Mr. Tolliver to, you know, direct Mr. Cohen to go ahead and get the pressure testing, like get some quotes on it, or get somebody lined up to maybe they come out and do that automatically. You know, I don't know how that system works, but you know, have him look into it, and then you know, get the quotes from Mr. Frank, so we can start talking about that. So, and then other than that, moving forward to full council, I'd like to move a resolution forward regarding the donation of flags at Poly. And then I'd also like to move forward to council for a resolution accepting the donation from the Franks regarding the land at the parcels at Polly.
Okay, got it.
Are you okay with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. And other than that, I'll see if I can get those updates, the stuff to come out. I'll share them with everybody if they haven't shared already about the dog park, but I'll see if I can get them open and maybe we can get a couple printouts for the meeting so people can have an update, okay, on that. So. Okay.
All right.
Other than that, we're good to go. So, we'll adjourn at, 6:41.